Patio Ponderings. It's the Christmas season. And I was out here on my patio with my tea this morning. I have tea in my Outer Banks mug. And I was thinking about accomplishments, because it's important to celebrate accomplishments and recognize successes. And so I realized that I had invested 30,000 plus of my own hard-earned money for my daughter's formal education in way of tuition, room and board, and a loan, which she didn't only pay back 7,000 out of the 10,000. And I realized that was a success. You know, I got my daughter the education she needed to enter into the world of graphic design and computer design, and she, in her own skill set, got herself to where she is today. But had it not been for my money and her ability to go to a certain local college that was very expensive, and has a story to tell in my life. I walked in there to finish my paralegal certificate, and it was out of my price range. And I went into the registrar's office in this prestigious women's college, and I spoke to the woman and got the material. And when I left, I just dawdled outside. I didn't go directly down the staircase, which went down this registrar's hall on either side. It was beautiful. Red carpeting, you know, fancy, schmancy. I'm talking Belle of the South interior. And she said, she's like chuckled in a smug way. Oh, did you see what the cat drug in? Oh my, what the cat drug in. So she was making fun of me. I was dressed like a poor person. So I sent my daughter to the very college for the first 2 years, and spent, again, I remember it was one time I wrote a check for 12,000 at one time. And I saw that go right out of my account. You know, I remember the day I wrote that galoot in Virginia a check for 10,000 to pay off one of his credit cards. And I remember when I wrote a check for 5,000 and watched that man's face. And I looked at it, I go, you're gonna remember this face, because he's not even hesitating. Look at that face. He is inserting the check you just wrote for his credit card with a look on his face of, all right, that's what I have. This is the world. This is what I get to have now. And I said to myself, you're gonna remember that. You're gonna remember what little hesitation that narcissist, which I didn't know was at the time, had when he put $15,000 of your hard-earned money, Kathleen, into an envelope for himself. And that look on his face. And I said to myself, you're gonna remember that. And it was important, so I know that there are certain things in our lives that we may feel like we're victims of. We may feel like, oh, no, I did not do this. This was not the cards I dealt. I did not, you know, you may think, I did not put myself into this birth family. No way I was duped. There's no way I planned this. There's no way I planned to have an incarnation, to be born into a family with a mother who misguided and misdirects, sends the Star Trek student me away from high school to work so that I don't end up like my sister, and that I'm not a burden to her financially, and I don't get to have my senior year in which I'm the fastest track star. I'm the invisible child. And I remember her directing me that way and going, it took all the wind out of my sail. I was pumping up for a really magnificent senior year in which I get to be the star. She's like, I want you to work. And the guilt I feel looking back at it is I remember also feeling a sense of relief. which is, oh, Betsy Saunders can feel better now about herself because she gets to place in the track. Karen McManus gets to be the fastest now. You know, all those thoughts went through my head. Oh, all right, no one's going to be mad at me for being good. The pressure's off. So my father dies in January of this year, 2025, and it creates a lot of ruminations and feelings. And my mother quickly thereafter fell and bled all over the place because of all the blood thinners she's on. And it became quite evident to everybody in the hospital staff that she needed a memory care facility, and sending her home was not going to happen because she kept running off all the help. So how she ended up at home and angry, and my father and all the story in the first place is because in January of 2023 my mother had a stroke. It was January 6th, I believe. And then my two older sisters flew out to Tucson, Arizona, and went up to Oro Valley, where they live, and stayed there for 3-4 weeks. And during which time I became quite anguished because those two sisters were bent on sending our mother to hospice. And by the time I got there in February, my mother's car was gone. All the silver except for 2 place settings, which my Irish twin sister said were for me. The track star that peaked in high school, that one. The golden child who peaked in high school. But she's better than I am, she told me, because she went to West Point. That, I've had my own business in 2 different state locations, and I've had to handle contracts as well as legal negotiations and leases and whatnot. That I've had to create a DBA, to have my own business, learn how to do my own C schedule, all of that. I've had to market myself, do my own website, social media at a minimum. That makes me just less than her because she went to West Point. So that sister that peaked in high school, that one, she said to me, oh, you have to be here. You have to be here. And I go, no, you don't understand. People come back from strokes. You can't just act on what they say. Plus, she was sedated. My mother was sedated. And my 2 older sisters were saying, she's in the hospital, right? My mother. Oh, you have no idea. She just keeps saying, take what you want. I go, Corky, stop. Just stop. Well, I'm taking the silver cack. I'm taking it. Can you just leave me some? I asked her. I'll leave you 2 place settings. Well, what happens is my mother comes back from the stroke, and then she spends the rest of her time yelling at my father all of 2023, all of 2024, until my father left. So a full year's worth of being yelled at. He finally caves. He has his own medical emergency. I mean, I saw what happens to a person's body when they're yelled at incessantly by a narcissist. This is one that came back from a stroke. Now she has less of a governor. She's meaner than a rattlesnake. And what goes down is that, good morning, Birdie. Hi. How are you today? I threw out some seats already, so I don't feel guilty, and I don't need to get you more. You see that bird right there? I can't seem to get closer to it because my finger's on this iPhone of mine and it's locked. Anyway, well, the damage was done. And here's the deal, though. I cry thinking about how Jane, my mother, was treated. And the golden child sister says, well, what's it to you, Kat? You hate our mother. I'm like, I hate our mother. I hate what she did to me. I hate what she did to Ken. I hate what she did to Janine. I hate what you've become because of her. I don't hate her. She's pitiful. She's a narcissistic bitch who competed with her own daughters for attention. The man who I babysat for, we were all standing in a circle, my mother, my father, myself, and then there were Mr. and Mrs. who I just babysat for. And it was after church, and I'm a senior in high school, and I'm the only one there, none of my siblings, of course. And they approached us, and they were just saying, thank you for introducing me to them as a babysitter. And the man said, the mister of the couple who I had babysat for, said, your daughter is very beautiful. My mother bristled. It was like Snow White and the Evil Queen. That was my life. Yes. You could never outshine her. You could never be better than her. That man sensed his mistake and covered it up with, oh, but I see where she gets her looks. That softened my mother, fluffed her up, and she felt much better. And I can see all of this because I'm the empath of the family. So I see everything, and I see it like a writer would see it, which is why it's like I realize, I have to get myself, put my money where my mouth is. And that's what I realized. I have been in this healing, and feeling place, trying to forgive, but not forget. And this is what I have to tell you. I don't forgive. I don't forgive my two sisters for going in and taking what they wanted and having my father sign over the car under a mesmerized state, he said, after they relaxed him and burned incense and candles and gave him a head massage or shoulder massage and said, here, Papa, sign this paperwork. And they signed over my mother's car under that circumstance. And he said so himself to my brother while he was in my brother's house seeking refuge because Jane kept hitting him. And that's when my brother and I started talking about how many times we were hit as children, because as children, we never really compared notes. And I'm like, yeah, I've had a dislodged jaw from being hit. I saw stars, which is why I understood the cartoons when they got hit over the head with a sledgehammer and they saw stars going around and around, cartoon ones or birds, tweet, tweet, tweet. I was like, yeah, I know what that feels like. My mother does that to me. Whenever I say something in the unseen that she doesn't see, that she never told me, and smack across the face. How could I know that? Huh. So I had this bitch cunt of a mother, who punished me for seeing, who punished me for observing, who punished me for being beautiful, who punished me for being athletic, who punished me for being anything that was better than her. And then I realized, as I was contemplating, glad I got that one out. Ugh. And I was contemplating, no, I don't forgive a shark if it were to eat a man alive who jumps into shark-infested waters. I just wouldn't jump into shark-infested waters. You don't forgive the shark. You know what the shark's nature is, and you just don't get near the shark. I don't forgive those sisters of mine for doing what they did. I don't forgive them for any of that. No. And like the shark-infested waters, I really don't want to be anywhere near those women. Because they are the ones who are going to have a hard time looking at me. They are the ones that are going to bristle and puff themselves up. They are the ones who took advantage of a mother who my older sister was so ready to celebrate. In her text, the wicked witch is almost dead, to my brother Ken. It's like I never wished any of that ill will on her, no matter what she had done to me. I didn't wish any of that. She didn't matter to me. I had a life of my own. I had a hard-earned life of my own, and I got far on my own. And I opened my own business on my own, and I became a wage earner on my own. That I didn't go to West Point and I'm less than, and I'm not as smart as. Very funny. What a dumbass, right? But rather than feeling the stain, rather than, being in that place of like wanting to heal or having to heal or wanting to forget, no, I have righteous anger. I am righteously angry that my sisters bombarded the home and took the silver and took my mother's mementos that she cried over the month I was there helping out in February of 2023. In which I took her to the doctor and I was unmasked because I was the only one allowed to not have to wear a mask because I didn't take anything into my arm. And Doc told my mother not to take anything more, including the annual thing that people take for the F word that now has become the C word, the hard one that ends in ID. The covert operation that messes with your identity. Anyway. So, eradicating Christian dogma, which says you have to forgive in order to be accepted in the afterlife. And I'm like, F that. No, I have righteous anger because I know who I am. I know who I am, and I know who my father was, and I am my father's daughter. He was an honorable man. He would never intentionally hurt another human being. He would defend a person who needed defending, but he would do it in a gentle way. And he would use the powers of persuasion, the powers of the gentle spoken word into the ears of the vile of my grandmother when she wanted to blame me for something and I went and accepted it. Oh, who was the crybaby of the family? It must have been you. We were at a family reunion. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was probably me. And my father went over and I saw him whisper. And then my grandmother later in her ear. My father went over, whispered in my maternal grandmother's ear. And then later she came over to me. She's like, oh, I remembered wrong. It wasn't you. And I had been used to being the scapegoat. So I took, all right, well, I'm the crybaby. The woman's turning 90, okay? I'm in my late 30s. And I'm still accepting the responsibility for something that happened in the past from a woman who raised my mother. You see, they're always looking for something wrong with you. So that's what we have to stop doing. Keep looking for things right with you. So I was celebrating. I was like, oh my goodness, look what I've accomplished. Yes, and I did this because of my own abilities. I should be celebrating more. I should be celebrating more. So Little Bird told me to celebrate more. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And it's like, I don't hate the mother who raised me. I hate what she did. I hate that she was so vile that she would succumb to such idiocy as competing with her daughters, as misdirecting her own son, of creating a difficult adulthood for every single child, but for the golden child, but indirectly she did make her life difficult as she created an estrangement between the golden child and the golden child's husband, who never went to family functions after the first 3. Ha! He knew better. He avoided my mother like the plague. What do you think about that? The golden child's own husband avoided the family functions and would never go. Why do you suppose that is? I know why that is.